Let's imagine that you and some friends were on a hike. Stopping along the way, one friend spots a patch of mushrooms and exclaims,
Hey, check out these mushrooms. I know I've seen these before on social media. They're choice edibles. Want to try them with me?
How confident would you be in your friend? How confident would you be in your own ability to identify them? Alternatively, on the same hike, another friend comes across a patch of yellow flowers and says,
Wow, these dandelion greens are in prime shape for a salad. Let's pick some for later.
how would you grade your confidence level now? Higher or lower than the mushrooms? The point? For the inexperienced, foraging for wild edible mushrooms can feel like a risky endeavor, and rightly so. According to a report by the CDC, during 2016, an estimated 1,328 emergency department visits and 100 hospitalizations were associated with accidental poisonous mushroom ingestion. In the same article, they strictly recommend that wild mushrooms should not be consumed unless identified by an expert. With such reports and strong language, it can make an individual start to think, if mushroom foraging is so risky, then why do so many do it? And is there such a thing as a good beginner's mushroom? We'll explore this topic and more in just a moment. In North America, it is estimated that there are at least 10,000 species of mushrooms. Of those, roughly 250 are known to be poisonous to humans, with only a few handfuls having the potential of a life-threatening poisoning. So why would anyone take the risk? Well, it's the same reason why everyday people take the risk to drive their cars. Simply put, the benefits outweigh the risks. But most importantly, when drivers combine knowledge with experience, they become seasoned with an excellent record. And the same can be said to be true of all forms of foraging, including that of mushrooms. So please, be wise, take your time, do your thorough research, and don't second guess. Be content identifying with just the goal to identify. In time, when you're 100% certain to know a particular edible species, your risk will be reduced down to a potential food allergy. Now, I really looked forward to an opportunity when I could film and share footage of foraging mushrooms, but particularly these common pearl oyster mushrooms. They're often called spring oysters, though they can be found most of the year and are about as common in the fall as they are in the springtime. Their genus and species is Pleurotus austriatus. That is, Pleurotus austriatus. And in my opinion, these are a great beginner's mushroom for a few reasons. 1, they are very easy to identify. 2, they have very few lookalikes which are harmful, and with discretion, one can easily distinguish the differences. 3, Their habitat range is extremely widespread, and they can be found growing in abundance. 4. Last but not least, they are a nutritious choice mushroom that's high in protein, and they also preserve very well. If you're interested in learning more about oyster mushrooms, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'll plan a more in-depth video on their identification as well as their food quality. If you enjoy my content so much and wish to help support this foraging passion of mine, please consider purchasing a copy of my book, featuring 26 of the most common and easy to identify edible plants of the Pacific Northwest. Its convenient size and easy to use format make this pocket-sized field guide the perfect forager's reference to use in all your foraging adventures. To purchase a copy of your own, or as a gift for a friend, please follow the link to my Etsy shop down in the description below. Thank you very much, and happy foraging! Now, when you find yourself with way more oyster mushrooms than you can eat, dehydration is a great way to preserve them. The texture of oyster mushrooms will become slimy if cleaned with water, so in order to clean them for dehydration, I just use a soft bristle brush, like this painter's brush, getting as much of the debris off as possible. Now in some areas, like the stem, the heavily littered parts are just cut off. I personally like to dehydrate oyster mushrooms because they store for quite a while and they don't take up much space. In a previous video, I even ground dehydrated mushrooms into a powder, which would take up even less space, and it worked great as a soup enhancer. More recently though, I'd say my preference is to crush them up into small chunks by hand and to throw them into some ramen. The reconstituted pieces absorb the broth's flavor beautifully, and they resemble the texture of something like shrimp. Now I like to set the dehydrator on high and let them dry overnight until crispy. This process usually doesn't take longer than 8 to 12 hours. With your freshly dried, crispy mushrooms, you'll want to be sure to store them in an airtight container. Here they'll stay fresh for many months. I like to pack mine into a large size mason jar. This way I can see them and I'll be reminded to add them to my cooking. I just wanted to take the time to thank you for watching my video to the end. I really hope you liked it or learned something. If so, please hit the like button down below. Please let me know your thoughts. I really enjoy reading your comments. If you're new to this channel, I'd like to formally invite you to please subscribe for similar content. I want to thank you one more time, and as always, happy foraging!